We now know how Russiagate got started, and we know that it was all a lie started by the Hillary Clinton campaign, that the Hillary Clinton campaign realized she was in trouble because of her email scandal, which had broken in 2015 in the wake of Benghazi. We found these emails of hers that were weird, and people were like, what server was that on, and so on. And it created a problem for her all the way up to Election Day 2016.
But I could see them and hear them in my ear, and they said, Tulsi Gabbard, you're coming out and criticizing Hillary Clinton and her foreign policy record. Aren't you afraid of what she'll do to you? He asked me this on live television on MSNBC. And you're laughing. I laughed too. I was like, no, I am not afraid of what Hillary Clinton can do to me.
Russiagate didn't begin with hard evidence or a shocking intelligence discovery. It began with panic inside the Clinton campaign. As Hillary Clinton's private email server scandal continued to haunt her from 2015 through Election Day 2016, her team realized the damage wasn't going away. Questions kept piling up. Why a private server, what was being hidden, and who had access to classified material? Facing a collapsing narrative and growing public distrust, the campaign needed a distraction, something bigger, scarier, and more explosive than emails. That's when the Russia story entered the picture, not as a conclusion, but as a political strategy designed to shift blame, redirect media focus, and frame Donald Trump as an illegitimate threat before he even took office.
Of course, is the original election denier. I'm sure you voted for her in 2016.
Well, she's not an election denier.
She absolutely was the OG election denier.
First of all, she came out before the sun had risen to concede the election to Trump.
And then spent the next 4 years saying he was illegitimate. He was an illegitimate president.
Okay, well, first of all, she didn't say he was an illegitimate.
Yes, she did.
You tell me exactly what she said.
She said those exact words repeatedly.
They are using the same old tactic that the deep state's propaganda arm in the media uses. Whenever they come across something that is true and that doesn't go along with whatever their narrative is that they're trying to shove down the throats of the American people, they first usually ignore it, as they did when I first released these.
Clip 2. When Tulsi Gabbard openly criticized Hillary Clinton's foreign policy, she was warned, on live television, that doing so could destroy her career. The implication was clear: Clinton had power, and crossing her came with consequences. Tulsi's response wasn't fear, it was laughter. She made it clear she wasn't intimidated, and that moment exposed something deeper. It showed how deeply entrenched fear had become in Democratic politics, where questioning leadership was treated like betrayal. Tulsi's refusal to back down wasn't just personal courage, it was a direct challenge to a political culture that relied on intimidation rather than debate.
Stole his first term as president. These absolute liars who run around trying to act like they're the protectors of democracy completely ruined it, tried to undermine it at every turn and at the highest levels with lies, with out and out lies that were really serious, and changed foreign policy and changed the course of history in this country in Trump's presidency. And there must be accountability. There has to be actual criminal accountability for those who lied. And I can't wait to see this.
Before the term election denial became a media weapon, Hillary Clinton was already practicing it. She conceded the 2016 election, then spent years calling Donald Trump an illegitimate president. That phrase wasn't accidental, it was repeated again and again, shaping public perception and fueling distrust. While the media later portrayed election denial as uniquely dangerous when it came from others, Clinton was allowed to rewrite history without consequence. The double standard was obvious. When Hillary questioned the election, it was framed as concern. When others did it, it became a threat to democracy.
Together, creating a very clear timeline that shifted from before the election, the intelligence community almost uniformly saying, essentially that Russia is trying to sow discord in the U.S. election, but has no preference for one candidate over another. And then all of a sudden, Trump wins the election, surprising many people, both here and abroad, as we've learned in later documents that we've reviewed, that throughout that campaign, Russia believed that Hillary Clinton would win.
Whenever facts surfaced that didn't fit the approved narrative, the response followed a familiar pattern. First, Ignore the information completely. If that failed, discredit the source. If that failed too, smear the messenger. This wasn't journalism, it was damage control. The media didn't act as watchdogs, they acted as shields. Documents that raised serious questions were buried, dismissed, or labeled misinformation before the public could examine them. What should have been transparent investigation became coordinated narrative management.
And our audience knows this, and you guys, but just for the record, let's play SOT 10.
I do think that he knows that he's an illegitimate president. I believe he knows he's an illegitimate president. He knows that there were a bunch of different reasons why the election turned out the way it did. And as I've been telling candidates who have come to see me, you can run the best campaign, you can even become the nominee, and you can have the election stolen from you.
We're trying to tell the American people the truth and expose these people, many of whom you just showed, for who they are as the propaganda arm of the deep state, which would have no power and no influence if they weren't able to feed their lies into a willing spokesperson through the propaganda.
Megyn Kelly's critique cut through Hillary Clinton's carefully constructed public image. She pointed out what voters felt instinctively. Everything about Hillary felt rehearsed, polished, and emotionally distant. The speeches sounded perfect, but they felt empty. The empathy looked staged. Kelly exposed how branding replaced authenticity, how slogans replaced substance, and how constant reinvention only widened the gap between Hillary Clinton and everyday Americans. Voters didn't reject intelligence or experience, they rejected insincerity.
So concerning about what Hillary Clinton is doing here is she is not only calling me a traitor, she is not only trying to smear my character, she's sending a warning out to every veteran, every single American, anyone who stands up against the warmongering foreign policies that really are her legacy, that have been so destructive and costly to my brothers and sisters in uniform.
When I resigned as vice chair of the DNC in 2016, specifically so that I could campaign against Hillary Clinton in that Democratic primary,
Tulsi Gabbard brought something few critics could, first-hand experience. She laid out Hillary Clinton's foreign policy record with calm precision, showing a pattern of intervention that often contradicted public claims of peace and diplomacy. From the Middle East to regime change disasters, Tulsi argued that Hillary's decisions left chaos in their wake. This wasn't ideological criticism, it was accountability. The contrast was striking. Public rhetoric about human rights versus policies that destabilized entire regions.
As she got closer to Election Day, she decided to concoct two lies about Donald Trump to distract from her email scandal. She got the Steele dossier through this Fusion GPS company that her campaign paid, and she got this group CrowdStrike, which was the one responsible for the hack into... That's the one that said that the Russians hacked the DNC.
Before the 2016 election, intelligence agencies said Russia was attempting to sow discord, but not favoring any specific candidate. Then Trump won, and suddenly the story changed. The narrative shifted overnight, claiming Russia actively wanted Trump in power. Later documents revealed something inconvenient. Russian officials reportedly expected Hillary Clinton to win. That contradiction raised serious questions about whether intelligence was being interpreted or repurposed to fit a political outcome rather than reflect reality.
One of the pieces that Glenn and I were getting close to in the discussion was the Hillary piece of this and the evidence, because that is, they do name a couple of names in this appendix on who came up with this scam. And the name that we keep seeing over and over, as one of them at least, was Julianne Smith. Schellenberger writes Julianne. It's Julianne. He writes, the alleged creator of the plan was Julianne Smith, a Clinton policy.
As Election Day approached, Hillary Clinton's team faced a nightmare scenario. The email scandal wouldn't disappear. So two narratives were pushed aggressively, the Steele dossier and CrowdStrike's conclusions. Both became central pillars of the Russia story, despite weak verification and heavy partisan funding. The goal wasn't truth, it was distraction. Accuse Trump of being a Russian asset, dominate headlines, and drown out legitimate concerns about Clinton's own conduct. It worked politically, even if it failed electorally.
So in this latest House report, they talk about how they also in the House, this is the House in 2020, pointing out that the ICA of 2017 ignored evidence that Putin seemed to be protecting Hillary Clinton in a couple of ways. It did not mention, for example, that Putin chose not to leak info he appeared to have on Hillary Clinton's health, including that she suffered from psycho-emotional problems and was on daily tranquilizers. We don't know whether that's true. We know that Putin appeared to have that intel in his pocket and chose not.
Leaving the criminal charges to the Department of Justice. I am not an attorney, but as I've said previously, when you look at the intent behind creating a fake manufactured intelligence document that directly contradicts multiple assessments that were created by the intelligence community, the expressed intent and what followed afterward can only be described as a years-long coup and a treasonous conspiracy against.
Again and again, Hillary Clinton appeared disconnected from the struggles of working-class Americans. Megyn Kelly and Tulsi Gabbard highlighted how that disconnect proved fatal. While grassroots movements surged with real energy and frustration, Clinton's campaign relied on inevitability and elite support. Overconfidence replaced listening. Strategy replaced connection. The result was a campaign that looked unstoppable on paper but collapsed when faced with genuine voter anger and disillusionment.
So the Russians were able to hack Leonard, and that's where they saw the plan. And we now have in the Durham Annex, like full screen grabs of the Russian memos that the Dutch got their hands on and leaked to us, where the Russians are recounting exactly what they saw Leonard discussing about this Hillary Clinton fan and emissary, Julianne Smith, and how they were going to stop Trump, undermine Trump, but most importantly, distract from Hillary's.
In the end, Hillary Clinton isn't remembered as a victim of circumstance, but as the architect of her own downfall. The contradictions, the secrecy, the media manipulation, and the refusal to accept responsibility all combined into a legacy defined more by controversy than accomplishment. Megyn Kelly and Tulsi Gabbard didn't just criticize, they delivered a reckoning. Their message was clear: political power without authenticity eventually collapses. No amount of polish can survive sustained scrutiny, and no narrative can replace trust once it's broken.
This woman should be in jail. Literally, Hillary Clinton should be behind bars. And so should the people who worked for her who did this. This is so blatantly corrupt. She wanted to distract from her email scandal. She cooked up a plan to accuse Trump of being a Russian agent in order to distract from her own legitimate scandal. She made up a scandal about Trump being a Russian